Now this is what I'm talking about. Listen, we've always been open about our love for this series. We praised the first game, we wrote a love letter to the sequel, but maybe you didn't listen to us. Maybe you were a Nintendo fan who didn't have a PlayStation, so you missed out the first time around. Whatever the reason, if you haven't played this game before, there's no better time than now. This is Klonoa, one of our all-time favorite platform games, remade for the Nintendo Wii. Now, especially if you fall in the aforementioned category of Nintendo fans who missed out on the PlayStation, this is a game you'll want to pick up, like, today. It's really that good, and its sharp gameplay mechanics will speak to you in a way only your favorites can. So again, this is the 2009 remake of the original Klonoa, a 1997 PlayStation game, and one of that system's most influential and underrated titles. The first Klonoa was a genuinely groundbreaking game, one of the earliest practitioners of the 2.5D platformer, as well as one of the best. Oh, what's funny about Klonoa, and actually kind of tragic, is that platformers like this are all the rage these days. They routinely ascend the top of the sales charts, and they've returned with a vengeance. But in 1997, there just weren't any games like Klonoa. This is a hybrid platformer that plays like the classics, but also incorporates its own twist on modern approaches. You see design elements like this in everything from New Super Mario Bros. To Donkey Kong Country Returns, and although it never gets the credit, Klonoa was one of the first to try them. Now, Klonoa's arrival on Wii marks his first appearance on a Nintendo home console, and in a way, it kind of feels like this is a second home for the series. Earlier I mentioned how Nintendo fans who missed out on the Klonoa games should absolutely adore this one, and that's because there's definitely a Nintendo vibe to Klonoa. I definitely don't mean that in terms of character design or story or anything like that. I mean, Klonoa is all about the gameplay, and that gameplay is so pure and so tight, and those are hallmarks of great Nintendo games, and that's why Klonoa feels right at home on Wii. Of course, that budget price tag doesn't hurt either, which is all the more reason to listen to us and just listen. Come on, go out and buy Klonoa. Do it for the benefit of humanity. Now again, we have reviewed the original Klonoa, and this remake is virtually identical, so check out that review for more detail on the game itself. But in a nutshell, this is a very clever platform game that plays on a 2D plane. But what's special about Klonoa is that 2D plane isn't a straight line. It twists and weaves through gorgeous 3D environments like a corkscrew, and the levels exploit that for some really spectacular designs. Of course, if you played the original Klonoa, this isn't exactly news, but the thing is, not much about this remake is. This is an almost identical remake. The only difference is, Klonoa has received a pretty significant visual makeover. Now, there doesn't seem to be as many particle effects and ambient effects as we saw in the PS2 sequel, which is kind of a disappointment because those really helped solidify the kind of dreamlike aesthetic, but generally speaking, Klonoa has never looked better. But otherwise, everything you remember from the original has been left alone for this remake. The unique jumping mechanics, the floating ears, the Pac-Man hat. This is Klonoa remade, not reimagined. And honestly, that's all it needs to be. The original Klonoa was one of the best games of its generation, but sadly it was kind of overlooked. And if any game deserves a second chance, it's Klonoa. One of the most important and influential platformers of the last 15 years that never gets the credit for it. Of course, we have to send huge thanks to our main man, Mohammed from Qatar. Once again, he's the guy who sent us this Klonoa game, and honestly, I think he's the only person in the world who's a bigger Klonoa fan than we are here at the underwater base. Mohammed, thank you. You're our official supplier of Klonoa games. Please keep them coming, because honestly, we could play these all day.